Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm Denise Teagle. I am the CEO, founder, and curator of Living Healthy List. I'm really excited to be here with my friend and colleague, Tracy Seider. And today we're going to talk about breathing right. And right now, breathing right is so important. And let's be honest, with all of the things that we have going on right now, we're probably not doing that. So if you're like me, and like most of the world, we all want a quick fix. Most of the time, there is no quick fix. However, as Tracy is going to show us, that when it comes to breathing, this is actually a quick fix. Breathing right can actually help alleviate so many problems that we have going on in our bodies on a pretty regular basis. And so I'm really excited to hear what Tracy has to say and to learn how to breathe better and feel better. So Tracy, thanks for being with me. Welcome.
Hi, Denise. Thanks so much for having me on. Let me just move back a little bit here. I'm sitting on my bolster. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And I love talking about breathing, exactly what you said, because it's a secret weapon. It's a secret weapon and it's a quick fix, because breathing is such a foundational movement that is happening in the body that if we are not doing it well, can have all sorts of ramifications that we aren't even aware of, and that if we learn to do it better can begin to resolve so many issues. And I hope that will become clearer as I take you through this workshop, because I really want you to feel and embody what we mean about breathing. Now, I love talking about breathing because next to alignment, and I'm a movement coach, just backtracking a bit, I'm a movement coach, and my niche is perimenopausal and menopausal women. So that's from about the age of 40 to 65. So when I'm working with people and helping them to resolve their body aches and even their sneeze pee, the first thing we look at is alignment, which we've done some presentations on. And then the next thing, because alignment is certainly a quick fix, and the next thing, which is also a relatively easy fix, is breathing. And we are breathing like a minimum of 20.
We're breathing right now.
Yes, and we're breathing 23,000 times a day. That's a lot. So that is a ton of opportunity to be either doing a huge amount of good and nourishment for your body or not. Okay? And if it's not, it's not. Because the amazing thing about the body, now you're probably wondering, you're sitting at home watching this, if you're thinking, Denise, like, yeah, what can she really tell me about breathing? I mean, it's kind of worked for me up until now. I think it's done a pretty good job. I'm sitting here and I'm alive, right? So well done.
Woo-hoo, 2 thumbs up.
Well done. And that is the amazing thing about the body, is that it will find all sorts of ways and compensations to keep you alive. Okay? So it's kept you alive. Awesome. Well done. But is it optimal? Are we using the mechanism in such a way that we're getting the most benefit from it? Because breathing, and I will share an animation with you, it is incredible to see that breathing is actually a movement. It's almost a whole body movement. I know before I got into this work, when I thought about breathing, it was like something that kind of happened just here, like this. No, you cannot believe when you actually see what's going on with breathing. It is muscles and bones and tendons and nerves, and that all the way from your pelvic floor all the way up right to your skull. Your skull is actually moving with each breath that you take. It is absolutely fascinating. Okay, some of these are bigger movements and some of these are much smaller movements, but they are still movements. And if we're not breathing optimally, that's a whole lot of movement that the body requires that we're just not getting. It could also mean that it's like the body wants oxygen. You know, oxygen's a bomb. It wants oxygen for brain health, metabolism, mood, all the the functions of what your body needs to do every day. We want to get as much oxygen as we can. And similarly, not only is it a question of getting oxygen in, but breathing is a huge mechanism for getting waste and carbon dioxide out of the body as well. So there's that whole aspect of it as also. So I can't stress how important breathing is. It's also can definitely start to resolve pelvic floor issues, specifically sneeze pee, which quite often becomes a thing for women. And please do not ever think that you have to grin and bear it. It is common, but it is not normal. And there's tons that you can do to resolve it, starting with breathing, as well as back pain, lower back pain, SI joint pain, also neck pain. All sorts of awesome things can be resolved, or you can start to resolve it with a good breathing pattern. So let's explore what I mean. Okay,
please.
Put one hand on your chest.
Can you see me okay?
Yeah, perfect. One hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. Okay, and just take a few normal breaths. Just breathe in and out. Okay, a few normal breaths, and now take a big breath. Take a big breath in, big breath out, and another big breath in, big breath out. You know, like when you're at the doctor, so breathe in, breathe out. Awesome. Okay, and now back to normal breathing. And tell me, when you're breathing just normally, which hand is doing kind of most of the motion or starting the motion?
My left hand.
Which is where?
On my belly.
On your belly. Okay, so your belly hand is kind of starting the motion, and there's a lot of movement going through your belly. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're a belly breather.
Belly breather.
A lot of people, pardon?
I said I'm a belly breather. Who knew?
Yes, so a lot of people are belly breathers. So most people fall into the category of either being belly breathers, where there's a lot of movement happening through the belly, the breath is being started with the belly, or otherwise they're people who hold the belly tight all the time, and they'll be doing a lot of chest movement, but the chest movement will be more of an up and down motion, okay? This is very, very, very common. This is how most of us are breathing. So let's see what actually breathing should be like, okay? So I like to start off with like, well, what is your current strategy? Because we need to see, well, what are we doing now in order to see how we can change? And if that change even makes a difference, because what I'm showing you may think is like, nah, no difference, which is fine too. I just want to give you an option of breathing another way and seeing if it makes a difference in your body and in your mood too. So let's start by just looking at what breathing kind of entails with the skelly. We'll look at what are the actual physical structures that should be involved in breathing. So the lungs sit under the rib cage here, okay? And then you've got the rib cage with all these muscles between each rib, called intercostal muscles. Sitting under the rib cage up here is a muscle called the diaphragm, okay? And when we breathe, the diaphragm goes up and down, all right? So the diaphragm is a big breathing muscle. The muscles between all the ribs contribute. Then you've got the abdominal muscles here, which is kind of also part of the strategy, okay? We need to bear that in mind. We've got 3 levels of abdominals. We've got a transverse that wraps around like that. We've got obliques, and then we've got the rectus abdominis. Then you've got the pelvic floor muscles sitting down here. And interestingly, the pelvic floor muscles work together with the diaphragm. They kind of, through the sides of the body, are interlinked. So in other words, when you breathe in, the diaphragm goes down and the pelvic floor should relax too.
Oh, it should relax.
Pardon?
It should relax.
Yes. And when you breathe out, the diaphragm moves up and the pelvic floor muscle should have a bit of a contraction and uplift as well. But we'll look more into that. And then you've got some stabilizing multidifidus muscles at the back. These are just the muscles that are involved in the breathing process. So it's important to understand that a lot of people, if you think about how your belly was moving when you breathe, a lot of people become belly breathers because their rib cage is no longer moving. Their rib cage is locked down. So in order to try and alleviate some of this atmospheric pressure that's coming down at us, we kind of create tension through the belly and breathe through the belly. But let's think for a moment, what is the concept of breathing? What do we want to have happen when we breathe? Fundamentally, we want the lungs to get big and the lungs to get small, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So when we breathe in, we want the lungs to get as big as they can, kind of to fill with as much oxygen as they can. And when we breathe out, we want the lungs to get smaller. So that's a shape change, right? We want a shape change, but more than a shape change, belly breathing is also a shape change. It's just a shape change, right? But for breathing, we don't only want a shape change, we also want a pressure change. We want a change in volume and a change in pressure, okay? So in order for that to happen, the rib cage, which gives us tons and tons of clues that it's meant to breathe that it's meant to move when we breathe. And the clues are that my skelly doesn't show it, but if you look up on a picture, you'll see that the ribs don't come straight into the sternum. There's a whole lot of cartilage first before it comes in. So that means the ribs are springy. There's all this muscle between every single rib. That means the rib cage can get big and the rib cage can get small. And then you've got the vertebra at the back that are attached. They're not fused, it's a joint, so they can move, right? They can move. So the skeleton is screaming at us and telling us that the rib cage is what should be moving when we breathe. And most of us are not moving our rib cage anymore. We either getting all this air coming into our belly, which is creating excess abdominal pressure down through the pelvic floor, and kind of out through the front of the belly, okay, which can, possibly lead to hernias and ab separation and things like that, but is not optimal. It's too much pressure. It's too much pressure. The place where pressure can change is in the rib cage. It's in the rib cage, okay? So what I mean by that is that as the diaphragm comes down on the inhale, the lungs get big, and so the pressure goes, do you remember your high school physics? Down.
Yeah, down. It's
because it's inversely proportional. The lungs get big, the pressure goes down, and so the air kind of gets sucked into our lungs because you've got 14 pounds of atmospheric pressure on you at all times, right? Then when you breathe out, it's a recoil. The diaphragm contracts and moves up.
Mm-hmm.
The lungs get small, so the volume increases and the pressure decreases, and then the whole thing starts again.
Mm-hmm.
So all that to say is we want to start getting movement back through the rib cage so that this whole system can do what it's meant to do. Because a lot of people also, so when I asked you to take a big inhale, you went like this, right?
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. So take a big inhale. How would your body take a big inhale?
Now I'm thinking about it.
Yes. So a lot of people are using their secondary muscles to help breathe in, because we've got into this habit, and in fact it becomes a habit, and there's so many reasons. I don't even want to go through all the reasons why we no longer really use our rib cage.
Mm-hmm.
But when we haven't used these muscles, these intercostal muscles, for any muscle, if we don't use it regularly, it begins to atrophy.
Oh, sure. If you don't lose it, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right. And the less it does, the less it does, the less it does. And so your body is finding other strategies to keep you alive. Mm-hmm. So it will try and create some pressure, that relieves some pressure through the belly, but you're getting no volume change, which means you're actually breathing very shallow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that your body is always, which could mean, I don't like to make blanket statements like that, which could mean in many cases that your body is always under the slight level of anxiety because you're not getting enough
oxygen.
Yeah. So many people, when I teach this 3-dimensional or 360-degree rib breathing, after a while, when their body gets it, like their whole nervous system just calms down. Okay. And similarly, neck issues, like there are many people who are using their necks to breathe in. These are secondary muscles. Mm-hmm. They will work if the other part of the system is not working. But it means that they will be bulky and overworked, and they'll push your head forward and create all sorts of issues there, which we don't want. It means it's pushing you out. It's giving you more of this forward head than we've got already, you know, because of all the screens in front of us. Okay.
I have a feeling that that's me, because as you're pointing here, I'm like, oh yeah, these are always tight.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's have a look. Let's start to explore it a little bit. So the thing with breathing, I'll give one more explanation. Sure. The thing with breathing is that, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, very menopausal. We're
all in the same boat, Tracy. You're good.
We want this 360-degree movement having on, where it's three-dimensional. So the 3 dimensions are side to side, back to front, and a little bit of up and down. We do want a little bit of up and down, but most people are going, there's too much happening here, not enough happening here. Okay, right. So let's try and explore just this lateral motion of breathing. So put your hands like this.
Okay, here, let me
down on your lower ribs.
Let's see if you can.
Okay, have you got them there? Can you feel your ribs? We're really going to start to get. Okay, really going to start to get a little bit of a relationship with your ribs, okay?
Okay.
So I want you to breathe in and feel your ribs. Force them if you need to, okay? We never want to force, but in this case, when we're just training the breath, breathe in and push your ribs sideways into your hands. Do you feel it? Now breathe out and feel your ribs close. Put a tiny little bit of pressure on them. And please, who's ever watching this, please do this 100% at your own risk. Don't do anything just because I say. Work to your edge. If you are asthmatic, have an inhaler handy, and maybe don't do this, okay? So breathe in. Do you feel the ribs moving sideways? And breathe out.
I do. As I'm doing that, I feel like I'm tensing someplace else because I'm concentrating on this.
It's fine. It's fine. It's all training. Don't worry. It will all come together. It will all come together at the end. We just want to start to train our ribs that they can actually move sideways. You see how my ribs are moving sideways?
Yeah.
There's a ton of movement there. There's so much cartilage. And breathe in. And as you breathe out, because most of us aren't exhaling properly. Most of us aren't breathing to the end of our exhale. So hold the ribs, like we're not going to force them down with the abdominals. We're just going to breathe all the way to the end of your exhale. Put a tiny little bit of pressure on them. Cough all the air out. And then breathe in. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different sensation.
I never thought of it breathing this way. I mean, we always think of breathing. I always think of it as, kind of up and down, or they say, with your, is your belly going up? But I've never thought of it this like left to right.
The belly, look, if you've been in meditation or yoga, or maybe gone to see a physiotherapist, there is a place for belly breathing. But that is in a meditative practice, or maybe teaching you to relax your pelvic floor, or because belly breathing does kind of, it calms you down, and it can, go into the whole parasympathetic system. But how you breathe all day long, no, we do not want to be belly breathing. We want to be rib breathing. That's what the ribs are there for, okay? Does that make sense?
It does. It absolutely does make sense.
So, I mean, that's how the ribs are designed. That's what the cartilage for. This area down here is very cartilaginous, right? And these lower ribs, the lower 3 ribs, don't even attach to the sternum. They all come through as cartilage.
Right.
So we're kind of being given a message that the ribs should do the breathing, right? So, but yeah, we've been given all these other sorts of messages, and then we don't, as we stop using it, so we get more and more into habit, so what you were saying is a great segue into my bucket illustration.
I'm curious. I see the bucket. I'm thinking, what is she doing?
So imagine this is one side of the rib cage. Here's the breastbone. Here the vertebra at the back. It's a joint. It's a joint in the front. Not so much a joint. I mean, a joint at the back, not so much a joint in the front. But what these lower ribs can do, not talking about the upper ones, a little bit separate, but those aren't the ones that we want to be moving sideways. Those lower ribs are capable of going like this, of opening and closing like an umbrella, okay? And when we're doing this work, I want you to get the feeling that they are opening and closing. when you're just using these extraneous or secondary muscles and doing this kind of breathing, all you're doing is you're keeping the ribs in the same position and you're just moving the bucket up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
It does.
So you're not creating, like, those lungs, which we've established we want them to increase in volume. The rib cage is going to have to move to make space for that increase in volume. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's try the lateral movement one more time, and then we'll look at the back to front. So I like to start by breathing out. So just breathe out, and it's a relax on the way out. It's a relax. You don't want to pull the rib cage down. It's like closing an umbrella. Okay, let it relax. Give it a little cough, and then breathe in. And you don't even have to breathe so much when you 3D rib breathing. Like, it's going to fill. It's going to fill. How does that feel?
It feels calm.
Yeah.
Like, it feels normal.
That's amazing. I love the way you say it. It feels normal, like it shouldn't.
Well, because I have done meditation and yoga and things, and, they're always, when you're in exercise, it is a very different concept when you're breathing, or when you're running. Mm-hmm. I find when I run, I'm a lot up in here. And so this is really, it's like I said at first, it's really calming because it doesn't feel like I'm stressing to breathe. Like, yes. It's just right. Moving.
Absolutely. Amazing. Amazing. So let's go on to the next dimension, because we said breathing should be 3-dimensional. So we did the lateral. The next dimension is back to front. And interestingly, I know when we think about breathing, we tend to think of it as something that happens here, right? But the majority of the lung is sitting at the back of your body, going from there to there.
Oh, yeah.
That's a ton of real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what we want to do is, we want, when we breathe, just see if you can see me do it here. We want, see how my back's expanding?
Mm-hmm. I see it more now.
So that is where we want the air to go. There's so much space at the back there. The problem, and this is a bit of an alignment fix that I'm going to give, is that many people, like, I can't tell you how many yoga classes I went to where the yoga teacher was saying, breathe into your back, breathe into your back. And you're like,
what
does that even mean? Because sometimes we have to, well, part of it is that many of us are rib thrusters. We've got these ribs sitting in a little bit of a lifted position, okay? For so many reasons. First of all, because it gives us a nice flat tummy line.
Some of us perimenopausal women, we like that flat belly.
But I can see my teenage daughters doing it now, right? Don't tell them I said so. It's a cultural thing, right? It's a cultural thing. So we've got, plus, when we've been told from when we were kids, stand tall. So stand tall means chest up, shoulders back, okay? Which may be good posture, but certainly not good alignment, okay? Right. There's a difference between posture and alignment. Posture is the way we look, and alignment is the way we work. And we want to ideally get to a point where our good posture is good alignment, not taking the body out of alignment. Mm-hmm. So we tend to come, and men do it 100% too, into this rib thrusted position to get a flat belly, and also because when we take our ribs down into what's called an anatomically neutral position, which we're going to explore, and which is much deeper into the body for most of us than we used to, is that we feel like we're very rounded at the top here. Mm-hmm. When you take, and that's because most of us are very rounded at the top.
We're sitting at a computer.
Yes, and we've been sitting at chairs and since we were 6 years old, okay? So first of all, when we're living up here, we're used to having a very straight spine, okay? So when we take the ribs down, even having a little bit of rounding feels weird. There is supposed to be a little bit of rounding. There is supposed to be what's called a kyphosis here, which is a little bit of rounding. But for many of us, when we take our ribs all the way down, we get our hyperkyphosis. We realize that there's too much rounding. It doesn't look so good.
Yep. I mean,
it looks sloppy, okay? And so we go like this.
Hold on.
Right? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to hide it.
Yeah.
You're hiding it, okay? So lifting the ribs like this is what we call in the trade hidden kyphosis. We're hiding the fact that we've got this hyperkyphosis. However, hiding it like that, rearranging our parts to hide the forward posture, is really making it worse. It actually just exacerbates the issue, and I won't go into the reason for that now, but it does. Rather put the ribs where they belong so that you can breathe properly and use your core properly, and fix the other correctives and things that we do to fix the hyperkyphosis. This is not the fix.
Okay? No, that doesn't feel good at all.
What doesn't feel good?
Sitting back, like trying to straighten, to make it, to kind of hide it. Like I said, I was high, you know, with the sitting up straight, to sit too straight.
Yes.
That's
right.
That's really
and many of us are in this posture, especially if you're standing up. You may not be feeling it so much in the chair, but certainly when we stand up, we do tend to have this little bit of a lift, right? So what happens when our ribs are in this lift is that the back ribs are being pushed forward. Can you see how there's more rib in the front of me than at the back?
Sure.
Now when I relax, and the key is relax, okay? And this is a difficult move to do, especially if you've been living in this posture for so long, or if you're postpartum and you've never been rehabbed properly. If you're 2, 20, 30 years postpartum, a lot of women are still stuck in this position. And there are very specific releases and things we need to do to get the ribs back to where they belong, because we never want to add tension on tension. So we don't want to be pulling the ribs down and holding tension here. Okay, we just want to do corrective exercises so that we can just fall into better alignment. So my ribs are up here.
Yep.
Way more rib in the front. I'm relaxing my ribs down to neutral. Do you see how now I've got an equal amount of rib at the back and at the front?
I do.
1, 2. Like you're at the optometrist. 1, 2, right? And when you're in this slightly lifted position, so sit tall in your chair as you would, for example, if you were standing, and feel if you've got a little bit of a lift, right? Now, there's tension that's holding that lift. There's tension. So dropping the ribs is actually releasing the tension. So breathe out.
I feel that.
Let the ribs drop into your body. You feel the release?
Yeah.
Yeah, your back will love it.
My back doesn't like that. Like this hurts my back.
Yes, because what we're actually doing, and it's going a little bit off topic, is that we take, when we rib thrust, we're taking the vertebrae and we're shearing them. Back doesn't like that.
No,
okay?
Doesn't feel like it.
Yes, so we want to relax the ribs down. Now, try and see if you can breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, and see if you can get some back movement.
It's not a big movement.
It doesn't need to be big, yeah, but it just needs to be something, right? Can you feel your back ribs moving ever so gently against the chair as you breathe in and out?
I do.
Good, good, good.
It took a couple of breaths.
Yeah. So often because this back area of the rib cage is just so atrophied, it really helps to do some exercise to get the air there and to start to get those muscles moving a little bit. So let me show you an exercise. I'm going to grab my chair and a blanket. Have you got anything available there that you can just like put in your tummy? Like
I do. I have a blanket right here.
Fantastic. All right. So let me grab my chair.
Okay.
Move my bolster.
Put mine.
So what we do here is you come and sit at the edge of your chair.
Okay.
Oh, at the edge of chair.
Edge of chair. Okay.
Take your blanket or whatever. And again, please also do this at your own risk. You may want to watch, have a look. If it doesn't feel good, please do not do it. Okay. And you're going to roll over and be very careful if you have a prolapse. Maybe rather contact me first before you do this. Okay. So you want the blanket to be stopping your tummy and your front ribs from moving. Okay. That's the point. you at the edge of your seat, your heels are under your knees. You reach your arms out in front of you and then breathe out and breathe in. And see if you can feel the air moving to your back. Drop your head. Yeah. Breathe in.
Oh.
And breathe out. So you're really constricting the front of your body so that the air has to go to your back.
Okay, so if I bend over further, maybe. Oh, there we go. For those of you who are watching, you can't see me. I'm doing this.
So try that a few times. Yeah, you got to really block the tummy from moving so that the air is forced to go back here. Did you feel that?
Again, it took a couple of times before I understood what you were talking about.
Yes, yes.
I have to say,
how does it feel?
It's interesting because, like you said, I mean, we breathe all the time. This is so different, a different way of breathing and a thoughtful way of breathing. And I said earlier, it felt more natural. And the thing I thought was interesting was it made my back feel, because I always seem to have a lot of tension in my back.
And this is what I mean about breathing being a quick fix to fixing so much stuff. Because, and I don't want to, we can chat afterwards and I'll tell you the exact mechanism for how that happens. But even I feel a release of tension here, and all this tension that I had down there is gone as well. Because just the long and the short of it, right, for those anatomy people, is that the psoas is interdigitating with the diaphragm. So when you allow the diaphragm to really have an opportunity to go on this good excursion down, it's giving the psoas and the QL and all these muscles a chance to just relax. They aren't on this high tension mark anymore. That's part of the reason, okay? Do you feel any release? Like often when I do that, I feel like I've had a massage.
So lower back for sure, kind of into my mid back.
Yes.
Because and that's another place where I always feel a lot of tension.
Right.
The exercise we just did with leaning over with the blanket, that really released that tension.
Because what's awesome about the breath being this quick fix is that it's something that it's deep within your body. So it can get to places of opening and expansion that no external body work can ever get to, right? And what we're doing with what I'm teaching you now, we want this to become the natural, normal way that you breathe. So the way you do that is you just spend maybe 5 minutes a day being mindful of it and doing the exercises. And I have other exercises and alignment things that I can give to really get, because we've got to get this back more mobile. Got to get this back more mobile, and we've got to get more movement through the muscles. And then it will just become the natural way you breathe without you having to even think about it. It will just be the way you breathe.
Because once I sat back and I was like, okay, and I was breathing as I was listening to you, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm just breathing the way I used to breathe. So actually, just by putting my fingers at my ribs, it makes I'm more mindful of how I'm breathing. So
and that's why we really just want to spend 5 minutes a day. We just want to spend a couple of minutes a day being aware of it. And because like you're mapping to your brain is mapping that this is even an option. So it's going to take a little while for those new neural bridges to happen, but then it will just become automatic. Okay. And then the last little thing I wanted to give you today, another exercise, is often, I want to say with women, but certainly I see this with men too, is, I know I am one, many of us tend to hold a little bit of tension through our abs all the time. A little bit of a tummy sucker. You're a bit of a tummy tenser, right? Because we want this nice slim line, right? Again, I can see it happening with my teenagers. Either because it looks better, right, when you hold it out, or you may have been told that you need to keep your abs tight all the time to protect your back, which is not true, okay? If you hold any muscle tight all the time, it becomes fatigue. The muscles in our body are very, very good. They need to be responsive. They need to respond to what's happening, and we don't need the brain bypassing that whole system.
Right, because it's like anything. If you're holding muscle tight all the time, like if this is tight, something else is tight, and
exactly.
it needs to be. If I could see where stronger abs, not necessarily holding abs in a tense position, because that doesn't seem natural.
And also, a strong muscle is not necessarily, a tight muscle is not necessarily a strong muscle. A strong muscle is a muscle that can move through its whole range of motion and respond to the amount of load that is being put on it. And when you're keeping your abs tight, your ab system is responsive, okay? It responds to what you're doing. We even see with kids, they're playing and playing, their bellies are hanging out, and then as they come to do something, you can see the whole ab machine going and just responding. And the thing is, we've come and overtaken, and we're thinking too much about it, like hold it tight and tuck it. No, again, it's that's another thing I do, which is the ab and core training. Is we also have to train our core to become responsive again. And the first part of that is just releasing the tension so that it can tighten when it needs to tight and release when it needs to release. And holding that little bit of tension all the time interferes with the breathing mechanism, because as much as I said we don't want belly breathing, we do want the belly to move. We want it to rise a bit at the end of the inhale. We don't want it to start the inhale. The inhale starts here with the ribs going sideways, with all this movement through the ribs. The diaphragm moves down, and in order for it to get this nice excursion down, the abdominals need to be soft. The abdominals need to be just at normal resting tension so that the diaphragm can move down, and then there's this little out movement of the belly. If we are not allowing, oh, sorry, I'm losing schedule here. If we are not allowing the belly to rise slightly on the inhale, okay? If we're not allowing the slight movement of the belly on the inhale, then we're interfering with the whole system, okay? So I like to do this move called, let me move my chair.
Okay.
Called abdominal release. And I don't know if you want to try this on the floor for a minute and report back to us. Let me show you what it is.
Okay.
Come onto your hands and knees. All right. And you see, when I come onto my hands and knees, you can see my belly's up here. Okay. You can see the tension that I'm holding through my belly. And again, this is a very cultural thing, which is why it's tough for us women, and even men, because men totally hold in their bellies too. That's my normal resting tension. That's tension. So it's not pushing the belly out. It's just even exploring, oh, that's normal resting tension. That's so interesting, because when we are having the slight bit of tension all the time, we don't even realize what normal resting tension is. Our body has no idea of how to calibrate it or deal with it anymore. All we know is up here.
Yeah.
And this, by the way, is a great fix for hiccups. Okay, which is a spasm of the diaphragm.
Right.
And great for constipation issues and irritable bowel. Because also, if you're holding this tension through your abdominals all the time, that is affecting your intestines. So that is just normal resting tension. Your body's like, oh, I didn't even realize that.
Huh.
Do you want to try that for a minute, or do you want to try that?
I will. No, I'll try it. I'm going to get down here on the floor, guys.
Okay.
I'll report back.
All right, report back.
I have to move my chair out of the way.
Yeah.
Move my blanket, because I've got a tile floor here.
Okay.
Very nice blue tile floor. Okay. Now.
So we're not pushing the belly out. We're just releasing any little bit of tension that may be there.
Oh, right.
Are you feeling any tension?
In the beginning, when I
Yeah. And often when people first start to do this, they'll feel like, I know when I first started doing this, I couldn't even keep the tension off. My belly kept on wanting to pull back, because I'm so used to being there. Pardon?
That's actually what I was experiencing, is I was trying to just relax it, but I kept wanting to tighten up a bit.
Right, yeah. So interesting, right? So for many of us, we don't even realize, because we've been holding this tension probably from when we were teenagers, that we don't even realize we're living with that level of tension through our body all the time. And that's keeping us in the shallow system, and also turning off your whole reflexive core, which means your back lands up overworking and and definitely affects the pelvic floor, right? This is all interconnected with the pelvic floor. So it's definitely the route we go down to resolve any kind of pelvic floor issues. And by the way, men have pelvic floors too. And they also have pelvic floor issues, and they're called prostate and erectile dysfunction. So this is not only the purview of women, all right?
Oh, it's good. It's really important to know, because I know June is Men's Health Month, and it's one of the things that I'm hoping to explore with people is to say, as women, we don't know all the things that men go through. So that what you said right there is so important for women to know, for our husbands, our fathers, our brothers. So I think that's really, really important. And I appreciate it.
And this work that I'm showing you today really applies equally to men. Absolutely same things that I would give male clients, for sure. Mm-hmm. So let's try and put it all together.
Okay.
Start by patting your belly. In the olden days, when I used to drive my car around the neighborhood and take my kids to school, because we don't do any of that anymore.
We don't do that anymore.
So instead of doing Kegels at every stoplight, which please don't do that anymore, okay? We do not.
I've never had any children, so I've never ever been told to do that, so I'm good.
But pelvic floor issues can 100% happen to men and to women who've never had children, okay? But Kegels off the bat are not the answer for that. Oh, that rhymes. Okay. What we want to start with is learning to just release, because remember, this inhale is actually, you should feel when you inhale that your pelvic floor is kind of filling your groin. So what I was saying about the tummy when I was driving, you don't even realize how much tension you're holding when you're driving, when you're just sitting. Just give your tummy a pat and give it permission to relax, because no one can see it. Okay? Just turn the camera up a bit. No one can see
my belly.
Yeah, no one can see it. So make friends with your belly, okay?
Oh, I'm doing that, and it still wants to get tight.
It's right. So interesting, right? Still wants to get tight. Yeah. Okay. So try and just pat it out a bit. Hands at your sides. Okay, so now don't even think about it. Breathe out. Breathe in. Feel your ribs moving into your sides. Feel it going through your back. Belly relaxes a little bit on the inhale. Maybe you can feel your pelvic floor filling your groin, and then exhale. Ribs close, and there's a slight contraction through the pelvic floor.
The most interesting thing that I can say right now is when we first started, I had a lot of tension all the way up my back. I'm not feeling that right now.
So amazing.
So when you say just to practice 5 minutes a day, I mean, we didn't even do 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I already feel a difference.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I have to say, I'm really amazed by this, because like I said earlier, like as an athlete, always kind of seem like I'm breathing up in here. This is so different, and it's so natural. It's so much more natural than the way I breathe normally.
100%.
Do you think?
And you want to get to the point. Sorry, you want to get to the point where you can still 3D breathe when you run. It will happen.
Do you think we 3D breathe when we're sleeping, or is it just something that we just tend not to do at all?
Good question. I don't know.
Okay.
Ask your husband to watch you the next time you breathe in.
I mean, if we're sleeping, we're not really
funny. I
paying
was talking about this just yesterday with some of my colleagues. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you're sleeping, your body's in a whole different state anyway. It would be interesting to muscles become more supple, and maybe because your abs are more relaxed when you're sleeping, maybe this is kind of more of a way. But you feel like at the beginning it kind of felt very foreign, and now it feels like home. Now it's like, well, why wouldn't I breathe like this?
Oh, absolutely. Just it's more calming. I mean, that's kind of the word that I keep coming back to when I breathe this way. It's not deep. It's not like I'm trying to breathe.
Down regulation. Yes, yes. Because when you get back to this umbrella opening, umbrella closing way of breathing, you don't need a big movement.
Yeah.
You don't need a big inhale. When everything is moving, there's this equal expansion everywhere. And so the deep pockets and areas of your lungs are actually finally being filled. And sometimes when I work with the lungs moving, like some people even cough because they're like alveoli. There's little those parts of your lung where the exchange happens, like for years and years and years and years. And there's like a little bit of a feeling when they finally open them, when you finally get some oxygen through them, right? And then they've opened, and then the ribs are open, and now you've also mapped this whole system for your brain. It knows that there is this option now exists, and it's a more efficient option. Has kind of changed since we started. Like, that's what I was saying, like, there's this whole down regulation of the nervous system because your body doesn't feel like it needs to panic. So does that make sense now? Now you know what I mean? It's totally experiential, right? I could not have explained it to you without you actually doing it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because your body only knows what it knows.
And everybody's different. You said, belly breathers, chest breathers, but even still, each person would be doing it a little differently, which I find just really intriguing that, breathing, we don't breathe naturally.
Yeah, well, there's so much that has interfered with that way of breathing because yeah, I don't even want to go into all the reasons, right? But that's having known me for a while, you probably know it's like has to do with with all the chair sitting we do and the lifestyle, and we just become locked down. And the thing is, it starts to become this whole pattern because the less we move and the less mobility we get through the back, because it actually 3D breathing requires quite a bit of mobility through the thoracic spine.
Right.
So with each breath we take, we're getting the mobility through the spine. But as you start to lose the mobility through the spine for whatever reason, then you become more of a belly or chest breather. And so this just locks down more and more and more and more and more. So it becomes this whole progressive thing. But the awesome thing is, once you start trying to regain it, you can get it pretty easily.
I think the biggest piece is now we're aware. That's the most important piece is we're aware of it. We have some tips on how to correct it. And, to start with 5 minutes a day, we can all take 5 minutes a day to just be mindful and think of the way we're breathing. Tracy, thank you so much. This has been really, really educational.
Right. And also, well, I'm so pleased you enjoyed it, and keep me posted on your breathing and how it feels. And also, when you're just sitting in a chair working or driving, just see, can my back touch my chair? Can I get a little bit of movement through my back, right?
I will definitely keep you posted. I know how to get
so you can do a little bit. Amazing. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can contact me through my website, tracyseidermovement.com. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
This has been great. Tracy, you're always just such a wealth of information and wealth of knowledge. I really do appreciate what you do and how easy you make it all seem, and for us to incorporate into our lives. So thank you, thank you. And we will see you next time, everyone.
Thanks so much. All the best.